but I want to get right to State Representative Kaohly Her, Mayor-elect Kaohly Her with us on CCO Radio. Congratulations, Mayor-elect.
Thank you.
How's that sound, by the way?
It sounds wonderful.
All of the headlines talk about this being an upset. And I will say, from people that I was talking to in St. Paul, especially over the last couple of weeks, there was interest in a change, in a new voice, in a new approach after 2 terms of Mayor Melvin Carter. Were you surprised that you ended up on top?
Our team has been talking about this quite a bit today. And the truth is that this played out exactly the way that we thought it would if we would have a victory. And so, though it's always a surprise to win, it was the ending that we expected based on the path that we charted.
What do you think the biggest factor was? What put you over the top? Because you got in, and we talked to you on this show not that long ago. You got in a little later into this race, which I wondered if you had enough time to get your message across. You certainly did. What do you think the biggest factor was? Why did people turn for you?
I think that people were looking for a change, that they I think everybody, the general consensus that they're so appreciative of everything that Mayor Carter has done and his leadership throughout these last 8 years. But they were looking to see if there were different solutions to a stagnating city. And I offered them a solution that they could get behind. And truthfully, I think with what people have experienced these last 8 years, that they just wanted to be a part of the solution, and they wanted to be heard, and they wanted to be a partner. And so and offering that to them was something that it seemed like resonated with the voters.
In your speech last night, you talked about the importance of Melissa Hortman and how much the shocking assassination of her impacted your decision to get into the race. Could you talk a little bit about that? I thought that was very touching.
Yeah, I'm somebody who's had to campaign all over the state with Melissa on multiple cycles. And she always said to us that, we have to earn the right to represent people. And she would run people in districts that we were never going to win. But that person who was the incumbent, she wanted to make sure that they were in their district fighting to represent that district. And so it was important to me that in our city, that in a city in which there's 300,000 people and few people knew that there was an election, that I wanted to make sure that whoever gets to represent this city fought vigorously in order to do that, and that we debated the issues that residents cared about, and that we put forward a plan that people could get behind. And so it was really her words that showed me that I had to work really hard and fight to earn the right to represent the people here as well.
Have you talked to Mayor Melvin Carter? You worked for him, so there was that dynamic at play in this race.
Yeah, we have talked. We talked last night. He called to congratulate me and to offer a smooth transition. And today he did just text me to let me know that he really meant that. And so I really appreciate that, because we are seeing that, in this political landscape that we are in now, that transitions that we took as normal do not often happen now, and that we see that transitions are difficult. So to have somebody be as gracious and as genuine about wanting to make that happen smoothly, I think is something that we should be applauding and holding up.
Well, and I think the way you ran your campaign was part of that as well. When we had you on the show, I gave you plenty of opportunities to really sort of rip your opponent. This is what people do in campaigns. But you didn't do that. I mean, the campaign was really more, yes, there were contrasts drawn, but it was not, we're sick of Melvin Carter, throw him out. It was, I believe in a positive vision of St. Paul. I think it's really been quite striking the way the campaign ended up rolling out in St. Paul.
Absolutely. And we always said that we weren't running against someone or something, that we were running for. We were running for a city that everybody would do well in. We were running for solutions. We were running for offering options to people to address the issues that were impacting them. And so that's what we were fighting for, which is why it doesn't require us to disparage, the incumbent. It doesn't require us to say negative things, because none of us are ever perfect. And so we want someone to give me that grace, when things won't go exactly the way I planned either. And so you can't get grace if you don't give it.
How do you view your role in history here as the first woman elected mayor and the first Asian American, you as a Hmong-American, being elected in a city that really has become known as a hotbed for new Hmong-Americans who maybe aren't so new anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's an honor. It's an honor to hold that role because it could have been anybody else. And to be honest, it was luck of timing and that it got to be me because our city is so rich in people and assets and the diversity that they bring and the leadership that we have here. So it could have been anybody else. And I feel really blessed that it got to be me.
My wife and I are moving into an apartment in downtown St. Paul next week. So you better not screw it up. That's all I'm saying.
I'll try not to. I think my plan is pretty good, and we're on a good trajectory here.
What's the first thing that you want to get after on your first day in office when you're sworn in?
And so I really want to make sure that I go out into all of the 7 wards and work with my city council members. I want them to always know that we won't always agree, but that we will have hard conversations. And so I want to know their priorities, what they care about, and how do we build a plan that honors the things they want to see happen in their ward as well. So that's one of the first things that I'll do.
You know, nationally, there's a lot of discussion about what happened in New York City, the fact that there is a Democratic socialist elected mayor there. There was a socialist candidate for mayor in Minneapolis. But if you look at what happened last night, Minneapolis elected Jacob Fry. St. Paul elected Kaohly Her. Two pretty, I don't want to say conventional and make you guys sound boring, but two pretty mainstream Democrats, not a socialist agenda. What do you make of that?
Well, I would say that that's what makes Minnesota really special is that we've always been a very balanced state and that we all hold very strong values, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, that you hold those strong values and you let that guide you. But we're also pragmatic at the end of the day, and we want government to run well. And I think that Minnesotans and St. Paulites, they see that and they want somebody who can deliver. And so I don't even see it as a conventional candidate, right? I mean, I carried the 5th tier tax bill and like gun bills and the Equal Rights Amendment. I think for most people looking at that, they would see me as a super progressive person, but they also know that at the end of the day, I know how to govern, and that matters to Minnesotans. It matters to the residents of St. Paul.
Yeah, St. Paul has been talking about garbage, the way that was going on. They're talking about safety. They're talking about revitalizing downtown. I mean, this is pretty traditional mayor stuff, you know, local cities. We care about our local community.
That's right. And that's what we heard overwhelmingly, that they wanted somebody who would focus on core city services and making sure that our city runs and operates. So our parks and recs and libraries work, that, you know, people can get permits when they call in and, you know, and the departments speak to each other. Like, people were very clear that they wanted somebody who would focus on running city government. And that's what I promised that I would do.
Kaohly Her, mayor-elect of St. Paul. I'll see you in the neighborhood when I move right over pretty close to City Hall. So we'll see you around over there.
Wonderful. Welcome to the city.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pretty cool. Kaohly Her, a first. And I also say, you know, she was so gracious to Melvin Carter, and the same for him. I do think, you know, St. Paul has a lot of challenges. The fact that it has so much tax exempt government, school, education property. It's tough in a tax environment where everything costs more. How do you make that work? How do you make the streets safer? How do you revitalize downtown? Lots of challenges there, but pretty cool moment. Kaohly Her here on CCO.